It's lovely to be here, mainly because James May's in Manchester. And actually, James May, there are not many things that I can say James May did to me or for me or near me, which I appreciated. But he did give me one piece of advice, which I think was good. He said, never talk in public for longer than you can make love. Thank you. Just checking. I think the very idea of putting the words making love and James May in the same sentence is terribly disturbing. Although I suppose there are some women in the room who are members of this strange subdivision of humanity which actually fancies James May. You fancy James May?
Love him.
Love him.
Love James May.
You three, you can move to another table if you like. This table here, I suggest, because you'll be protected by the staff, and she's got all that wine to herself. By the way, there is a certain politics to coming to wine tastings. You lot have no idea on this table here, because actually you're not too well there either. The politics is basically go to as empty a table as you can find, because people are just not going to turn up, and so we just pour the wine, hoping they'll turn up. They get stuck in one of these bars. I mean, have you seen some of the bars around here yet? Have you seen the Gastro Bar? I mean, sure, have you seen, they've got 40 different craft beers. If we were staying in Le Havre a bit longer, I'd get through the whole lot. But I'm still expecting to get through about 15 or 20 of them. 40, try the Gastro Bar. The Cellar Master, if you try that, you know, if you feel like a quiet glass or two, really cool place called the Cellar Master's just around there. And oh God, the Martini Bar. If anybody sees me at about 2 o'clock this morning, leaning with my head in the ice on the Martini Bar, could you please, well, I'd call security to be honest, but if you can't find security, just give me a good kick. I should be in bed. The Martini Bar is a place where you can get... Last year, I remember we got caught up in doing a martini challenge. Every gin, to see which one made the best martini. This is such a bad idea, especially when we couldn't decide and we had to do it all over again. I mean, they've got about 11 gins there. It is such a bad idea. Anyway, today, we're going to do some wine tasting. And I thought what we do is just to show you some of the kind of wines that we've got on board. Because there are about 500 wines on the wine list on Celebrity Cruises, which is more than any other of the cruise lines have. And we go from really nice introductory stuff, which everyone can just have a glass whenever you happen to feel like it, to some of the rarest wines in the world. I mean, we've got a wine from 1893. It's looking a bit tired, but I don't blame it. But if you want to have a wine from 1893, you can come on board a Celebrity ship and have a wine from 1893. If you want to have 30 or 40-year-old bottles of Bordeaux, perfectly stored, come on board a cruise and have a 30 or 40-year-old bottle of Bordeaux. There's a wine called Screaming Eagle. Now, any of you from America, Screaming Eagle is just about the rarest red wine in America. You can't buy it in America. I can't buy it in New York. I can't buy it in San Diego. I can't buy it in Chicago. I can just get it here instead. All the ships have got Screaming Eagle on. And that's as well as the kind of wines we might be more familiar with our New Zealand Sauvignon Blancs, Chilean wines, Australian wines, all that kind of stuff. So I thought what we do is sort of just go around the world a little bit and have 4 different wines, 4 different grape varieties, 4 different places in the world, and just have a look at what we like or what we don't like. Because the whole thing about wine tasting is it's not just about what you like, it's also what about you don't like. So we're starting with Sauvignon Blanc. That's wine number 1, Sauvignon Blanc from New Zealand. Wine number 2 is a Chardonnay from America. Wine number 3 is a Chilean red wine, a Carmenere Chilean red wine, and wine number 4 is that lovely juicy beast, the Barossa Shiraz from South Australia. So let's. I mean, I would say don't wait for me to say things like now lift the glass to your lips. You look as though your wrist action is absolutely fine without any help from me. So I think I'll rephrase that actually. Anyway, you look at oh, there's 3 of you. Right. Certainly not going to go near your table. You know, get drinking when you feel like it. I would just vaguely say, try and sort of approximately keep to the same wine I'm talking about. So I don't really want to say we're just finishing off talking about the New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc and you just hoovered back the Australian Shiraz. Because, I mean, well, what I say may not make much sense, but it'll make a good deal less sense after that. On the other hand, I still keep looking at this table over here. You know, anyone really thirsty and really courageous and really brazen? There's an empty table over there. I can see it. It's there. Anyway, let's have a go at this wine. Firstly, cheers everybody. Let's have a fantastic couple of days. I hope you all voted this morning, by the way. I hope you all voted. We have to use our votes, and then that's another reason. By the way, they've got some big screens up. So those of you who are interested in politics, and I am, that's where I'll be at 2 o'clock in the morning. I'll be watching a big screen with Jenny down there. Well, by all means, I'll buy you the first drink. Let's have a swig of this, see if we like it. This is a Sauvignon Blanc from New Zealand. Now, do you see how it's amazingly fruity? It's just, I mean, you think this can't be alcoholic. I can just hoover this back, you know, and then suddenly you fall flat in your face. How much? I only had 2 pints of it. That's what New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc is supposed to do. It's supposed to be the most fantastic drink. It's not about, oh God, how many years has it been in an oak barrel and how many dogs has the owner got and has his wife got a moustache and all that kind of stuff. It's not important. New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc is just about the most modern wine in the world. 20 or 30 years ago, this kind of wine just didn't exist. It was invented by the New Zealanders. Now, let's see how you can make a wine like this. Do you see how it really makes your mouth tingle? It makes your mouth water. That acidity gets in you. But that acidity is exactly the kind of acidity. If you get a really good English Cox's apple or something like that, you get a really good nectarine, something like that. Acidity is absolutely fundamental in all of the fruits we eat. And acidity is fundamental in the wines we drink. If you've got wine without acidity, it tastes really, really flat. Okay, but it also is very, very ripe. Bursting with lovely fruit flavours. How do you do it? Well, the thing to know about this wine that's the most important of all is the grape variety. All grape varieties taste different. You know, just like, if look, any of us in this room, if we said, okay, I've got a Cox's orange pippin here, and I've got, I don't know, a Granny Smith there, and a French Golden, no, not French Golden, I'm talking about apples. I mean, oh right, a French Golden Delicious there. Shut our eyes, we'd all be able to tell the difference between the Cox, the Golden Delicious, and the Granny Smith. It's exactly the same with wine. To be honest, if you can tell the difference between a cup of tea and a haddock, you can tell the difference between all the wines we've got on this table here. They're all from different grape varieties, they all have different flavours. Now the crucial thing about the Sauvignon Blanc is, it's what they call a green grape. There are golden grapes, there are green grapes. The green ones are the sharp ones, the fresh ones, the wines that make your mouth water, the wines that wake you up like that. But a green grape by nature, nature says the colour green is the colour of underripeness. It's the colour of coolness. You don't get those flavours, those green flavours, in a hot place, and you don't get those green flavours from a grape variety which likes heat. You've got the Sauvignon Blanc, somewhere where it's hot, and it tastes of nothing. You've got to find somewhere cold. But on the other hand, grape varieties, they do need sunshine. You can't ripen grapes without any sunshine. You've got to have sunshine, you've got to have cool. Now that's where New Zealand comes into it, especially the South Island of New Zealand. Now, the second wettest place in the world is not Manchester, and it's not the Irrawaddy or the Orinoco. The second wettest place in the world is the west coast of the South Island of New Zealand. I mean, they've got the main town over there is a place called Greymouth. They were going to call it Bluemouth, but nobody had ever seen blue. Didn't know what it was. Grey, they understand. It's a hellhole over there. It rains and it rains and it rains. And the reason it rains like that is because the South Island of New Zealand is bang in the middle of the Roaring Forties. And the Roaring, any of you who are interested in sailing, the Roaring Forties are a really, really rough part of the world. Right down on the bottom of the world there, you get these enormous westerly winds that build and build and build into massive storms, hurtling across the bottom of the globe. Now, if wind is hurtling across the sea, it's going to pick up moisture. And the last bit of land that the Roaring Forties get to before they get right the way across underneath Australia is the bottom of South America. You've got thousands of miles of these winds picking up moisture as they go, and the clouds getting heavier and heavier and taller and fuller of moisture. The first bit of land they get to, they're going to dump on. And the first bit of land they get to is the west coast of the South Island of New Zealand. So what happens is all these winds come in and they hit the west coast and dump, and they get pushed further in, and the clouds are still dumping on the land, and more clouds and more storms are coming in behind them. And if it weren't for one thing, you wouldn't be able to ripen a potato in the whole of the South Island of New Zealand. But there's one massively wonderful thing. It's called the Southern Alps. And the Southern Alps is a great high ridge of mountains that runs like a spine right the way down the centre of the South Island of New Zealand. So when all these storms get pushed in from the west, they hit the mountains, and they get pushed up the mountains, and they're still dumping the rain, and they get pushed further and further up the mountains. They're dumping the rain until they get to the top of the mountain there, and they've dumped all their rain. And so what gets pushed over to the east side of the South Island is all this air, which is still cold, because you're down in the Roaring Forties, but it's dry. Dry air means no clouds. No clouds means sunshine. On the east side of the South Island of New Zealand, they've got what they call a rain shadow. It doesn't rain. It's not hot though. I mean, basically, it's about as hot as a nice day in Sussex in the middle of summer. But in the middle of summer in Sussex, you might only get a couple of nice days a month. There, they get 30 nice days a month. And the brilliant thing about it is, the grape variety, therefore, gets all the sunshine it needs to ripen. Because the way you ripen grapes is the sun shines onto the leaves, and the leaves photosynthesize the sunshine and then push it up and make sugar in the grapes. That's how you ripen grapes. It's not about it's not about the heat, it's not about sun on the grapes, it's about sun on the leaves. So you get as much sunshine as you want getting into those leaves, creating ripeness. But there's a sort of equation. The colder the vineyard is, the higher the acid. So if you've got a hot vineyard, you've got low acid. You've got a cold vineyard, you've got high acid. And that's the genius of New Zealand, because it's cold, so you get all that acid that's making your tongue tingle at the moment. You get all of that acid because of the coldness, but you get full, 13% alcohol perfectly easily in these grapes, because the sun shines day by day. And that is why New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc is the most refreshing, modernist drink you can possibly get. And I think this is a lovely example, and I'm delighted to have it on board.